Just come back from a press conference with Prime Minister James Marape. He's effectively defending the fact that the motion of no confidence didn't go ahead, saying that the opposition had more than enough time to raise it and for it to even use its numbers or show its numbers in Parliament to put on the motion of no confidence. Now, the reason we're even talking about a motion of no confidence has been the very tumultuous year so far in Papua New Guinea. Of course, just early in January, on January 10, we saw that very significant civil unrest and riots which led to more than 20 being killed across the country. And just in recent weeks as well, law and order has really continued to be an issue with that horrific massacre we saw up in PNG's highlands just on Sunday that left at least 49 people killed. And now the government is also staring down the barrel of an imminent fuel crisis. So the opposition's had a lot of ammunition effectively against the Prime Minister in recent weeks. They brought on a motion of no confidence to the Parliament effectively a few weeks ago, raising that motion. But yes, today we have seen that it hasn't gone ahead through a decision of the Parliamentary Business Committee.
So can you tell us a bit more about what happened in Parliament today and what happens now?
That's right, and unfortunately there's a little bit of context here to understand almost the physics of PNG Parliament, but effectively the opposition had to put a notice of a motion of no confidence, rather, to the Speaker of the House. Now, that gets vetted by the Parliamentary Business Committee. Now, that was sent back to the opposition last week after that vetting process, saying that there was an issue. Now, we understood that the opposition had fixed that issue, or at least they said, and then it went back to the Parliamentary Committee just yesterday, and the Speaker gave the announcement that the Parliamentary Committee has decided that that motion of no confidence shouldn't be tabled, and as a result the no confidence process doesn't kick off, which was very widely expected to happen today. And Parliament, the government, have used their numbers to adjourn Parliament right through till May. So we did hear from the opposition in a press conference just after those events in Parliament that they're going to be seeking legal advice as to the situation if there's any sort of challenge that they can mount. Here's opposition MP and former government minister Enga.
If we can facilitate this issue on the floor of Parliament, all we are doing is driving the issue onto the street. That's right, the public will take control of the issue, and that's what you don't want to happen. It's dangerous. That's very dangerous for our country. All these procedures, this ventilation system on the floor must be allowed to take its course.
So, Tim, you mentioned the fuel crisis that's gripping PNG at the moment. What's the latest on this shortage and what's the government doing about it?
Well, the government and the public have known about this fuel crisis really since the middle of last year. A national emergency was declared in July last year relating to fuel supply when Puma Energy, the country's monopoly supplier of aviation fuel and main supplier of retail fuel at the Bowser, said that it was having to restrict its supply. Now, this all is over a long-running dispute between the central bank as well as Puma Energy. Now, it's sort of has kind of stumbled along in the months since, but just recently we saw a statement from Puma Energy saying that it was restricting its supply. No further supplies of fuel, rather, will be available for sale until further notice. They've also sent a letter to the Civil Aviation Safety Authority to say that the estimated fuel stock remaining at Jackson's airport, the main airport of Papua New Guinea, is approximately 4 days. Unless an urgent solution is found, the limited remaining aviation fuel stocks in PNG will be depleted within days. So it's of significant concern to the country, and I know that many business leaders that I've spoken to are very concerned about the operations of their business. Now, Prime Minister James Marape has said repeatedly over the last few months that alternatives are being looked into. He says that ultimately he's hoping that they can still use the existing Puma infrastructure that's there to be able to still import fuel supply. Here's what he said at that press conference just earlier today.
We expect flights to carry on. That ship and cargo that is coming in is being, as I speak today, Deputy Prime Minister is attending to this matter with Central Bank, with ExxonMobil, with Puma. So we don't expect to completely shut down. This is a no-go zone for us. We expect that all in the sector to assist in the cost. State is looking at using again provisions of the Essential Services Act to keep Puma engaged and to keep every one of us engaged in the supply of fuel.
Meanwhile, the country is still reeling from that massacre that happened on Sunday. Tell us what has happened since.
The death toll at this stage from that massacre appears to have remained steady, at least from an official standpoint, at 49 people. It is widely considered to be one of the single largest massacres in PNG's history, certainly in the highlands, in this breakout of tribal fighting. Now, dozens of people were killed in tribal fighting even as recently as September last year, and this is accelerated through the use of high-powered firearms that are effectively going around the highlands. It's really changed the nature of traditional tribal fighting. Now, as far as the government's response, they've effectively responded very similarly to the way in which they did last year. They've spoken about a domestic terrorism act that they say will be introduced, although it hasn't been introduced to Parliament yet. They're talking about additional police resources for the area, and they're also talking about training a tactical squad. They were speaking about that last year, still speaking about it today. It doesn't appear to have materialised at this stage. So many in Enga, in the highlands, are very concerned about the ongoing tribal fighting and how deadly it has become through the use of arms. The main government response at the moment as well is for the Prime Minister, at least at that press conference, to call for tribal warriors to lay down their arms, and saying that effectively this has to be an issue for the whole of community, not just police, urging people to effectively restore calm and order as well in their own communities.
Tim, thanks for that update.
You're welcome.